They checked my name 3 times, then looked at me like I was nothing, like I should not be there, like I made a mistake showing up. I stood there holding my bag, in a hotel full of strangers, at my own sister's wedding. I am 28 years old. I flew across the country just to stand in that lobby, waiting for someone to say, "There was a mistake." There was no mistake. I pulled out my phone, called my sister right away. She picked up, sounding annoyed, like I interrupted something important. I told her what happened, told her my name was not there. She went quiet for a second. Then she laughed. "He really thought you were invited?" Her voice was cold, sharp enough to cut through everything. I did not argue. I did not ask why. I already knew. I just stood there, in the middle of that lobby, while people walked past me. I said I understand, and I ended the call. No scene, no tears, no begging, just silence. Before I left, I walked to the reception table. I took out a small silver box and placed it gently among the gifts. It looked small, almost invisible next to everything else. Then I turned and walked away. Hours later, she opened it, and everything she built started falling apart. Now she keeps calling me. Again and again, I never answer, because some things are not meant to be explained. Because some things are not meant to be explained. This did not start that night. This did not start at that hotel. It started inside a house that looked perfect from the outside. Money status, everything in place. But inside, it was different. There were 2 daughters, but only one was seen. My sister always had everything. The better room, the better clothes, the attention, the time, the praise, the version of love that was visible. I learned early what it felt like to be second. On my 10th birthday, I woke up before everyone else, thinking this time would be different. Double digits felt important, like maybe I finally mattered. I walked into the kitchen slowly, waiting for someone to notice. My mother was already busy, talking about my sister's event. My father had already left. I stood there for a moment, then said it quietly. "It is my birthday." She covered the phone briefly, said we will do something later. Later never came. That night there was a knock. My grandmother stepped inside, holding something small and wrapped. She sat next to me gently, placed it in my hands. Inside was a real camera, heavy, solid, different from anything I had ever owned before. She looked at me closely, like she actually saw me. She said I had something special. Said one day people would see it too. That moment stayed with me. Years passed and I worked quietly. I earned a full scholarship to one of the best design schools. For the first time, I thought, maybe this would change things. The day of my graduation came. I stood there, ready to leave, wearing everything I worked for. I told them what time it started, told them we should leave soon. My mother barely reacted. My father said something came up. My sister had an important event, something about connections and opportunity, something they could not miss. I stood there holding my speech, still in my gown, still waiting. I said, "It is my graduation." My father looked at me calmly, said photography is not practical, said I should think about business. My sister did not say anything, just gave a small, quiet smile, so I went alone. I gave my speech anyway, to a room full of strangers, and when I looked out, only one person was there, my grandmother. She was in the front, clapping harder than anyone. Afterward, she held my hands, told me something I did not understand. Some things in life are not the ones people fight for. They are the ones passed quietly. I carried those words with me after that I left. 2 suitcases, 1 ticket, and no one to say goodbye to. I moved across the country, started from nothing. I worked under others first, carrying equipment, learning everything, saving every dollar I could. Step by step, I built something, slowly, carefully, without help. Back home, nothing changed. They never asked what I did, never cared how I was doing. To them, I was still the one who took pictures. My sister would still call sometimes, but only to talk about herself. Her promotions, her achievements, her life getting bigger every time. Then she would ask about me, like it was a joke, still doing those small shoots. I would stand there listening, looking at everything I had built, a company, my own team, clients who trusted my work, a life that was real. But they never saw any of it. And maybe the truth was, they never tried to. And maybe the truth was, they never tried to. Then one day, everything shifted. My grandmother died. The call came out of nowhere, a quiet voice telling me she was gone. I did not think I just booked the flight back to a place I had already left behind. The church was full. People everywhere, talking softly, dressed in black. I sat alone, watching from a distance. At the front, my mother and my sister, receiving sympathy like it belonged to them, but something felt wrong. Between conversations, I heard it. My sister whispering about the jewelry collection, asking when they could have it, asking what was taking so long. My mother told her, "Not here, not now." I looked at them, then at the casket, and something inside me started to shift after the service. As people began to leave, someone touched my shoulder, a calm voice, asking me to step aside. We walked into a quiet room, away from everyone else. He sat across from me, holding an envelope. He said my grandmother came to him years ago, said she was very clear about what she wanted. He placed the envelope in front of me. Inside were documents and a letter. I read the first page once, then again, then one more time. The entire jewelry collection, worth millions, was left to me, not my sister, not my mother, me. My hands tightened slightly as I opened the letter my grandmother wrote, that my sister saw those pieces as status and display. But I saw something different, history meaning something real. She wrote that I understood what mattered beyond appearance. She wrote that I would protect it, not just own it. I could feel my chest tighten, reading every word. Then he spoke again. There was one condition. I had to keep this secret until the right moment. I nodded slowly. I folded everything carefully, placed it back inside. When I walked out of that room, nothing looked the same anymore. The same people, the same voices, the same place. But I was carrying something they did not know existed. A truth already decided, long before that day, and I kept it. I walked out of that funeral with a secret in my hands, one that would not stay hidden forever, one that would not stay hidden forever. And that moment came sooner than I expected. My sister got engaged. Everything moved fast after that. Plans, announcements, celebrations everywhere. A wedding that looked perfect. Expensive, polished, exactly what they wanted. I watched it all from a distance. Days passed, then weeks. I kept checking mail, email, everything, waiting for something simple, an invitation. Nothing came. At first I told myself, maybe it was delayed. Maybe there was a mistake. But deep down, I already knew. I called my mother, tried to keep my voice steady. I asked about the invitation. There was a pause, a long, quiet pause. Then she said, my sister wanted her to talk to me. She said it would be better if I did not attend. She called it intimate. But I had seen the photos. Hundreds of guests, champagne dresses, smiles everywhere. I said I understood, and I ended the call. That night I opened my phone, scrolled through everything. Dress fittings, parties, celebrations. My sister in the center of it all. Everyone around her. Everyone except me. I stared at the screen, long enough for something to shift. At first it felt like anger, But it did not stay that way. It became something else, something clearer. For the first time, I stopped asking why and started asking, what now? 3 days before the wedding, I made my decision. I booked the flight, one way, no announcement, no explanation, just a quiet decision. I packed a small bag, then I prepared the only thing that mattered. A small silver box. Simple light, easy to ignore. But inside, everything was already decided. I placed it on my counter and looked at it for a long time. I asked myself one question. Was I doing this for revenge? The answer came back slowly. No, I was not going there to make a scene. I was not going there to interrupt anything. I was going there to stop hiding the truth, to stand in a place where I was never allowed to exist, even if it was only for a moment. That night, I did not sleep. I kept thinking about everything. Every year, every moment, everything that led here. By morning, there was no hesitation left. I stood in front of the mirror, steady calm, certain I picked up the box, and I left. At the airport, everything felt quiet, like the world had no idea what was about to happen. As the plane lifted off, I looked down at the city and realized something. This was no longer about them. This was about me choosing. When the truth would be seen, and I had already chosen. And I had already chosen. The hotel was everything I expected. Bright lights, polished floors, voices everywhere. People moving like they belonged there. Like this world was made for them. I stood just outside it, holding the small silver box, took a breath, and walked in. I went straight to the reception table, gave my name calmly. They checked once, then again, then one more time. The smile on her face faded. She said my name was not there. I asked her to check again. Another staff member came over. They looked together. Then both of them stopped. They looked at me differently. Not confused anymore, just pity. Behind them, the doors were open. I could see everything. White tables, flowers, lights. People laughing, celebrating, a room full of belonging, and I was not part of it. She asked if I wanted her to call someone. I said no. I stepped away, pulled out my phone. My hands were steady. I called my sister. She answered quickly, sounding irritated. I told her where I was, told her my name was missing. There was a pause. Then she said she knew I was not invited. I said I was her sister. She laughed, cold, sharp, without hesitation. She said this wedding was for people who mattered, important people, not someone like me. I told her I flew here. She said that was my mistake. I said I just wanted to give her something, a gift. She laughed again, asked what I could possibly give that she did not already have. Then her voice changed, lower, colder. She said no one wanted me there. Not my mother, not my father, and definitely not her. She said I had always been an embarrassment, told me to go back to my small life and stop pretending I belonged in hers. I stood there, listening to every word, letting it settle. I did not argue. I did not raise my voice. I said I understood. Then I told her I would leave the gift. She said fine, just do not make a scene. Then she hung up. I lowered the phone slowly, and for the first time I smiled. Not because it did not hurt, but because I already knew. What was inside that box? I walked back to the table. Hundreds of gifts everywhere, large, expensive, impossible to miss. And in the middle of it, I placed mine small, quiet, almost invisible. I took out a card, wrote my name clearly, slipped it under the ribbon. For a moment, I just stood there, looking at it. Then someone asked if I wanted to stay, if they could help me get inside. I shook my head no. Some things are meant to be opened without me there. I turned and walked away, past the lights, the music, the life I was never part of. Outside, the air felt different, clear, cold, quiet. I got into a taxi, did not look back. On the way to the airport, everything felt still, like something had already begun. I booked the next flight back to San Diego, and as the city faded behind me, I knew one thing: that box would be opened soon. But to understand what was really inside it, we have to go back 2 months earlier, and that box was already sitting there, waiting for the exact moment everything would break. But the truth did not start there. It started 2 months earlier. I was in my office. When my assistant walked in, she said I had a call. The voice on the phone was calm, professional, almost careful. She said she had a bride. Who wanted the best photographer? I listened quietly. Then she paused and said something that froze me. The bride was my sister. I did not speak. She continued slowly. Said my sister had already signed. Said she chose the work herself. Said she had no idea who owned the company. I turned toward the window, tried to process it. My own sister had hired my company, without knowing it was mine. The contract was already done. $18,500, non-refundable. Everything locked in. I held the phone tighter, felt something shift inside me. Not anger, something sharper. Clarity. A few weeks later, my sister hosted a private event. A room full of people, close friends, powerful connections. She stood in the center, smiling like everything was hers. She talked about the jewelry, said it would be hers, said it was worth millions, said it had always been meant for her. People around her admired her, agreed with her. Even my mother supported it. Said my grandmother loved her most. Said she was always the chosen one. I was not there, but I could hear it clearly. Every word, every lie. My sister kept asking about the collection, again and again, trying to secure it before the wedding. She thought it was already hers. She planned around it, built her image on it, told everyone, promised everything. And none of it was true, because that collection had already been given to me. For months, I never said anything. I just watched, waited. And now I was sitting at the airport, looking out at the runway. Planes rising, disappearing into the evening sky. My phone silent in front of me. The moment was getting closer, inside that ballroom. The night was moving forward. Dinner, speeches, laughter, and then soon, the gifts, inside that small silver box. Everything was there. The legal document, the letter written by my grandmother, the photo of us together, and one more thing. The contract, the one my sister signed, the one that proved everything she said about me was a lie. I leaned back in my seat, closed my eyes for a moment, and took a slow breath, because I knew when that box was opened, it would not just ruin a moment, it would break everything she had built. All at once, it would break everything she had built all at once inside that ballroom. My sister was glowing. Every light found her, every eye followed her. Every smile fed her. She moved like certainty, like the whole night had been built for her. She spoke softly to guests, but not softly enough I could imagine it clearly. Her hand on a glass, her smile perfectly measured, her voice full of pride. She told them the jewelry would be hers, a family treasure worth millions, old, rare, untouchable, and already promised to her. People leaned closer, impressed, interested, eager. That was what she wanted, admiration, not truth. Then the room shifted, the music softened, the attention narrowed, and the man with the microphone called the bride and groom forward, a few gifts before the cake, a sweet moment, a harmless tradition. That is how it looked. My sister walked to the table, still smiling, still certain. Gift after gift, she opened them lightly. A practiced smile, a gracious nod. Nothing touched her. Nothing surprised her. Then her hand found it. The silver box, small, quiet, almost hidden, at the edge of everything. She picked it up, looked at the card, and laughed. A gift from my sister. She said it like a joke, like even my absence could still entertain her. Then she mocked me again, right there in front of everyone. As if I were still small, still beneath her, still easy to dismiss. She loosened the ribbon, lifted the lid, and reached inside. At first, only paper. An envelope. Official, thick, unmistakable. Her smile changed. Just a little. She unfolded the first page. Read the first lines, then stopped breathing normally. She kept reading. The color in her face shifted all at once. White, then flushed, then drained again. People nearby noticed immediately. Someone asked what was wrong. She did not answer. Her hand started shaking. The letter slipped and fell from her fingers. My mother moved first. She reached for the papers, looked them over quickly, then more carefully, then very slowly. And then she saw it. The collection was not my sister's. It was mine. I could almost feel that moment from across the city, the exact second. Her certainty cracked. My mother looked stunned, like the ground beneath her had moved without warning. My sister kept saying, "This cannot be right. This cannot be real." But panic does not change ink. Then my father stepped in. He picked up the letter, the one that fell, the one written by my grandmother. He read it in silence, not fast, not casually, carefully. And the longer he read, the quieter he became, because he knew it was real. He knew that handwriting. He knew that voice. He knew what she meant. He saw it there, clear and undeniable. My grandmother had chosen. Not by accident, not in confusion, not under pressure. She chose me, and my father understood that. For the first time, my sister was already falling apart. But it was not over. There was still one more paper, still hidden in the box. Her new husband saw it first. He told her, "There is more." She froze, then reached down, pulled it out, unfolded it. A contract. Photography services. Her name on one side, my company on the other. And below that, the part she could not survive. The owner. Me. She stared at it like it was impossible, like paper had betrayed her, like reality had turned on her. Her new husband took it, read it himself, then looked at her differently, not with love, not with pride, with doubt, real doubt. "You told me your sister could not keep a job." That was the question underneath, even if he did not say. All of it, out loud. "What else did you lie about?" She looked around wildly, searching for something, someone. Any exit from the truth. Then one of the photographers stepped forward, camera still in hand, voice careful but clear. She confirmed it. I was the owner. I was the one behind the company covering the wedding. And just like that, the room went silent. Not polite silence, not waiting silence. Shock. The kind of silence that falls after impact. Every lie she had told, about me, about the collection, about who mattered, about who failed. All of it collided with proof at the same time. People were no longer smiling. They were watching. Watching her. Watching my parents. Watching her new husband. Watching the story change right in front of them. Because power had moved, it was no longer in her voice, or her image, or her performance. It was in the documents. The letter, the contract, the truth she could not erase, and the man beside her was already pulling away inside. He had not spoken much, but he did not need to. His face said enough. He no longer knew who he had married. And then it got worse, because the truth did not stop. At the papers in her hands, a woman stepped forward, calm, steady, completely sure. She had been close to my grandmother for years, and she said it clearly. In front of everyone there, the amendment was real. She had seen it signed. She knew exactly why my grandmother made that choice. My mother tried to stop her, tried to control the moment, but it was already gone. The room belonged to the truth now. Then came the words. That cut deeper than anything else my grandmother believed. My sister saw the collection as trophies, status display. But I saw history, meaning memory, something to protect. That was why she chose me. Not because of drama, not because of confusion, not because of favoritism, because she knew who would honor it. Then she added one more thing I had never asked. My grandmother for anything. My sister never stopped asking. That landed hard, not just on my sister, on everyone in that room, because now this was no longer a family dispute, or a misunderstanding, or a bad moment at a wedding. It was character. It was motive. It was truth spoken aloud by someone no one could dismiss. Then another voice rose, this time from the guests. A powerful man stood up and said he knew my work, said I had handled a massive event for his family and done it flawlessly. That was all it took. Another guest spoke next, then another after that. They knew the company. They knew the reputation. They knew the demand. They knew the level of work. The room started shifting again. Now, people were not just hearing that my sister lied about the jewelry. They were hearing that she lied about me. That the woman she mocked, the sister she reduced, the one she treated like nothing, was actually wildly successful. One guest said my company was among the best. Another said we were booked out for high-end events. Then the number came out, $4 million in revenue. That was when my mother broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, but visibly. She gripped the chair, like she needed something solid to hold her upright. She looked stunned, like she was hearing about me for the first time in her life. My father said very little, but his face changed. Not with anger, with realization, the kind that comes too late. He understood then that they had never listened, never asked, never looked closely enough to know me. And standing in the center of all that collapse, my sister tried one last time to take control again. She kept talking, kept pushing blame outward, kept trying to turn me into the problem, but her husband stopped her. Just one word, stop. That silence after was colder than shouting, because everyone heard it. He was no longer beside her in the same way. He was standing there, but already stepping back inside himself, and while that room kept unraveling without me, I was still at the airport. My phone lit up mutter after time, call after call, message after message. My sister, my mother, my father, all at once, demanding, accusing, panicking. Pick up the phone. Call me now. What did you do? You ruined everything. I watched the screen and let it ring, then ring again. Then again I did not answer. Not one call, not one message. Because for the first time, I understood something clearly. I did not owe them immediate access to me, just because the truth had finally caught up with them. Then one message came through, from her husband. Different tone, different weight. He said he was sorry. He said he had believed her. Believed what she said about me. Believed I was unstable. Believed I could not hold a job. Believed the family had distance. For a reason he admitted he never questioned it. That part mattered, because people like him usually do not admit. When they were wrong, he said the wedding ended early. Guests were leaving. Nothing felt the same. And he did not know. If the marriage would survive this, I read that message slowly. Then I wrote back. I told him I did not blame him, and I hoped he found clarity, that was all. No lecture, no revenge. No explanation, just distance. Then I turned off my phone. On the flight back, with the noise fading, and the lights below disappearing, I made a decision. If my sister ever came to me with real accountability, I would listen. If my parents wanted to truly know me, I would give them that chance, but I would not chase them. I would not defend my worth. To people who never bothered to see it on their own, that boundary formed quietly, somewhere above the clouds. And once it did, it stayed. That boundary stayed, and the world did not stay quiet. The next morning, everything was everywhere. Clips from the ballroom, shared again and again, millions of views. Comments flooding in, people watching her fall. Watching the truth surface, watching a story she never thought would be seen. And my name started spreading with it, not as a shadow, not as a rumor, as something real. Messages started coming in, new clients, new requests, new opportunities, people who had never known me, now asking for my work. The same world that ignored me before, now knocking. But that was not what stayed with me most. 3 days later, my assistant told me someone was here, my mother. I stepped outside and saw her standing there. She looked smaller somehow, not in appearance, but in certainty. Her eyes moved slowly across the office. The walls, the awards, the work, everything she had never asked about. She looked at me, like she was seeing me for the first time. She asked quietly, "Is this all yours?" I said yes. Then I told her, "You never asked." She flinched. We sat down together. The silence felt heavy, but honest. She started talking. Said she thought I had ruined everything. Said she did not understand why I would do that. I leaned back slightly and told her the truth. I did not ruin anything. I just gave her the truth. Everything in that box was real. The documents, the letter, all of it. She looked shaken. Then she asked, why? Why would I humiliate my own sister like that? I held her gaze. I did not humiliate her. She did that to herself. She had been lying for months about the collection. About me. About everything. My mother broke then. Not controlled, not careful. Real. She said they failed me. Said she failed me. Her voice trembling, her words unsteady. She tried to explain. Said my sister always needed more. Always asked for more. Always demanded attention, and I never did. She thought that meant I was fine. I told her quietly, I stopped needing you because I knew you would not be there. That hit her hard. She looked down, like she finally understood. Not just what happened, but what had been happening for years. She admitted it, said they gave more, because my sister demanded more. But that was not the truth they taught her to demand, and they taught me to stop expecting. We sat there, with that reality between us. Then she told me what happened after. The honeymoon was delayed. Her new husband needed time. He no longer trusted what he had been told. Her work was affected. People had seen the video. Seen everything. Questions were being asked, and she had no answers. She tried to blame me, said I manipulated everything. But no one believed it. Not after what they saw. Not after what was proven. My mother looked exhausted, like she had been holding something heavy. For too long I listened, but I did not soften. I did not step back into who I used to be. I told her clearly, I did not destroy anyone. I just stopped pretending. Stopped pretending. I did not exist. Stopped pretending. Their version of me was true. Stopped shrinking. DJK fit into something. That was never real. She nodded slowly, not arguing, not defending, just accepting. And for the first time, there was no performance between us, only truth, raw and uncomfortable, but real. And that changed everything. That changed everything. And when she left, the office became quiet again, not empty. Just still I stayed there, long after the door closed, looking at the space around me. Then my eyes moved to the photo on my desk. My grandmother and me, her hand on my shoulder, her smile soft and certain. I picked it up slowly. For a moment, it felt like she was still there, like she had already known how this would unfold. I sat back down, holding that silence, and I made a decision. I would not close the door, but I would not hold it open. If they came back, they would have to walk in themselves. No more chasing, no more shrinking, no more waiting. Just space, clear and real. A few days later, I went to see the collection, locked away, carefully preserved. Piece by piece, I held them, one at a time. Felt the weight, not just of gold or stone, but of history, of meaning, of every story that came before me. I understood what she meant. It was never about owning them. It was about protecting them. So I made another decision. The most important pieces, I placed them in a museum. Not hidden, not private, but shared. With a small note honoring her name, her legacy. The rest I kept safe, not as status, not as proof, but as something to pass on when the time felt right, before I left. The manager handed me one more envelope. Inside was a short letter. My grandmother had written it. She said she left my sister a simple pearl bracelet, not valuable, but meaningful. If she ever learned to understand, I stood there quietly, letting that sink in. Even now, she still believed people could change. 6 months passed, slowly, not dramatic, not loud, just different. My mother started calling, once a week. At first it felt careful, like walking across something fragile. But she listened, really listened, asked about my work and waited for the answer. My father sent a letter, 3 pages, handwritten. No excuses, just an apology. For everything he never saw, I have not answered yet, but I kept it. That matters. My sister and her husband started therapy, trying to understand what was left, what was real. She called me once. Her voice was different. Not proud, not sharp, just uncertain. She said she was trying to understand. That was all. No apology, but not denial either. And for now, that was enough, because I was no longer waiting. For it, I had already learned what I needed to learn. Being seen is not something people give you. It is something you claim. It is the moment you stop asking and start standing fully. Without apology, I still think about that bracelet sometimes. Simple, easy to overlook. Just like I was. But maybe one day she will understand what it really meant. And if she does not, that is okay too, because I did not walk away to be understood. I walked away to be free. That was the difference. That was everything. If this story felt real to you, or if you have ever had to choose yourself, you can share your thoughts below. And stay for more stories like this, because sometimes the quiet ones were never weak. They were just waiting.